Nice.
Manny Yosipov, welcome to the Journey with Gabi. I am really honored to have you, honestly.
Honored is a strong word, but I'll take it.
Yeah, no, so I saw you on Slaki Stol with Sarah Barkov. She's been on the pod. I really liked the way you spoke. I thought you had a very interesting worldview. And then you debated Rabbi Mizrachi.
So, it's a very sad excuse of a debate. He just kinda cut me off a lot, and I was already on thin ice with my community. I think a few of my cousins yelled me out of a shul.
Oh my gosh.
Because of something I posted on YouTube. So I just felt like I felt like treading carefully. I said, look, if he's going to cut me off, I'm just going to stop talking and let him have the upper hand, quote unquote. I hope he didn't go promoting it like some grand victory over an atheist, because I think anyone with half a mind saw it as just me being reluctant to kind of go nuts. But that was, I remember that vividly. And I remember thinking, God, I could have done so much better if I was just a little more ruthless and if I was alone.
Right. You know, the thing is, you definitely came off a lot more soft-spoken from what I remember. And it was like, he did cut you off a lot, and it would have been nice to like be confrontational, but it's like his style is so like steamrolling, and he's not going to sit there listening to your nuance. Like, you're trying to explain how religion might have evolved and not actually been written in some revelation. And it's like, you have to sit there and think and like be interested in the idea of like, oh, adaptation and it evolves and cultural stuff. And like, that's complicated.
He thinks he's heard it all.
Yeah.
He really doesn't. Right. He hears the first few sentences and he interprets, this is where he's going. I know the answer. I do that when I'm in an argument with somebody and I kind of hear the first few sentences and I know where the argument's going to go. So I just prematurely and impatiently cut them off. And it's not the right thing to do because it's presumptuous and it's arrogant, but that's where I think he went wrong. And I get it. Like, the guy's impatient. The guy's a celebrity, a small celebrity in this community. But I would love to, if I could debate again with him, I'd love to have a discussion. I don't even want to call it a debate. I'd just like to talk to him. I think we can have a good conversation if someone would moderate, or if I'll just be more comfortable saying, hey, let me get this out.
Let me say my point. So that's a very charitable interpretation for him. Like, I think he's concerned about the audience too. Like, if he lets you speak, right, and then some of your ideas get across, like, I think in my mind, I think he's probably a little bit concerned about that. You know what I mean? So it's like better to kind of cut you off, say like the blunt, more like
and give like a stupid analogy of
exactly.
Oh, so you think we are from pigs? Or like we are related? He says, and I, you know what? Genuinely, I mean, I've seen him be very nice. I've seen
he's a sweet guy when you talk to him in person. Yeah,
this is how people get, when they get famous and powerful, and a lot of that power now is reliant or hinges on this success and this personality and not being wrong or being, immutable in these, talking points. And he doesn't have a moderate fan base. His fan base is like, cutthroat, do or die. I am 100%, Mizrachiite. They're crazy. They're very extreme. You're gay, you go to hell. Autism is in your genes. Like, oh, you're going to have autistic kids, your mixed wedding, God forbid. How could you deal with all the sin that you're responsible for? So he's a very extreme guy. I'm, let it be known that I'm always open to having a discussion or a debate with him publicly. I'm very comfortable with what I know. And I think that he's mistaken about a lot of things, and if anyone of his fans out there want to reach out to me, I can explain it very thoroughly in a much more rational way. I think when you think very black and white about life, you're gonna miss a lot of the nuance, and life is very nuanced.
Exactly.
Fitness, it spills over into everything, into fitness, right? It's nuance. Calories in, calories out. Protein, okay, but there's a lot of small things that can kind of tip the scales in favor of a really nice aesthetic or a really healthy life. You can't just do one thing and it works. Same thing with life. It can't just be that, oh yeah, this book and you're good. It's just so obviously conveniently wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I can rant a lot.
No, same. It's making me spin off in so many different directions, but you're so right. It's so nuanced. I had a client that asked me if I recommend any good mental health books for him, just like how to take care of yourself as like an adult nowadays. And I was like, I can't recommend any book because every book that I've read on the topic, it's very like one angle. You know, this is a CBT angle, an IFS angle, or like a health angle, or sleep angle, or there's a like or boundaries. Like if you ask me about something specific, I could give you a really good book on like one thing. But like if you want like an overall, like there's no good book on just like, oh, here's how you take care of yourself. This is just a well-rounded tackling all the different areas, like just with advice. And made me realize I should probably write it. I was like, it's missing.
The all-inclusive, the one-stop shop. The thing is, it would be huge.
It would be huge. Yeah.
Right? To really cover. I'm actually trying to write something like that, like a compendium.
Right.
Is it a compendium? Is that the word? I think compendium.
We'll go with it.
Some compilation of all my thoughts for my kids mostly.
Right.
Because I think the best way to immortalize yourself is to write something down.
Write it down.
To record, right? Podcasts are a beautiful way 100%. To immortalize yourself, right? Your kids, when you're gone, will be able to listen to this.
Right.
But I think, granted, you can really edit infinitely, but I think the perfect compilation can be written, and I want to leave my best advice behind for my kids, and I want it to cover all the bases of the things that I think the world has wrong. And unfortunately, I think a lot of it stems from the Bible, right? The Bible was the be-all, end-all, unquestionable authority on moral practices, ethics, human behavior, relationships, everything for thousands of years, until maybe 100 years civilization was successfully inculcating it. It is in the Constitution. It is on every court. The judicial system was born. How we literally decide whether someone should be killed or put in jail or punished for things in society is a function of a system that was born from Moses and Jethro or Yitro, however you want to say it. Yeah. We owe a lot to religion, but it wasn't perfect. I always come back to this, and I wrote a little essay on Facebook about honoring your father and mother just being the biggest flaw in God's quote unquote statement of human behavior.
Honoring your father and mother.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your take. Yeah.
Because why do you need to tell kids to honor their fathers and mothers if they already come out suckling and needing them for nurturing and are attached to an annoying extent? You've had kids, they're obnoxiously, annoyingly attached to parents initially. They suck on your breasts. They are literally dependent on you. It's the parents who mess it up. It's the parents who ruin the relationship. And it's not always the parents' fault, quote unquote, but it's not the kid's fault. It's definitely not that. Sometimes it's no one's fault. Sometimes life just sucks. Yeah. You wake up one day, you have leukemia. You wake up, you have genes. You're not attractive like most people, right? You're not a 6'5" model god, or you're not born into the Trump family where you're rich and your dad's setting you up for life and you could literally do nothing and you're fine. Right. Sometimes when you take that understanding of randomization and chance, what makes you think you're in, there's no entitlement to this kind of thing. But then again, that's where the Bible comes in and says, no, there's a soulmate for everybody. There's a reason for everything. It's all for the best. I think when you abandon that kind of silly hopefulness, it's not sad. It's a beautiful liberation. It's kind of like I'm finally truly in control of everything myself, and I could fuck it up or I can really do a great job. So put your best foot forward. So start to really, think about how you need to succeed in the system you're in capitalism. There are basic steps in capitalism, right? You get a skill, learn a skill that the society values, that people will pay for. You learn this skill, you go to a system or an education or a school, or it's online now. You learn a skill and you charge for that skill. And then eventually maybe you start a business selling the skill, training others. Apprenticeships used to be a big thing, right? You literally couldn't get a job in the 1600s or the 1700s if you didn't have a mentor teaching you a certain timeline, blah, blah. I'm kind of digressing here, but you get my point, right? Like there are just rules to succeed. When you take control of that, instead of just kicking back and assuming that God's got you covered, I find there's a very big liberation to that. And that kind of all...
No, it's a fascinating thought. I think what I was understanding you saying is like the Bible is a false map, right? Like you're operating on like it's a bad system, you know, like you're not in reality. If you think that the Bible's real and like, oh shoot, I have to, I don't know, like you were saying earlier, like if I don't, whatever, my kids will have autism if I don't do X, Y, Z, right? Like you're just living your life with bad rules, you know what I mean? Like it's not in reality. So it's like when you shed that, that's a freeing moment. What's interesting though is like, there's so much peace in being a believer. Like I think I was reading up about how believers, even ones that don't have community, have better health outcomes. You know what I mean?
I heard that. The best arguments I've heard against this, and I have a few very intelligent friends that I debate this discussion with a lot, and the arguments are, you know, the data shows that there are people in religious communities, especially with communities, are happier. They have less mental health disorders reported, and they have.
You know, I have to go off on that because honestly, I have rants. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit, but like the amount of dysfunction and mental illness that is perpetuated by religion is absurd. You know what I mean? Like people staying really depressed, really anxious, OCD, delusions, like.
I would argue that that's a more recent phenomenon because now the internet has come to show everybody. Look at all these irreligious people doing it differently. Look at all these women that are not dressed modestly and they have beautiful kids and great lives, or you think they do. You know, when a woman or a man comes to you and is like, yeah, I'm doing all the right things, I'm trying all these things and I'm miserable.
Exactly.
Humans are really only doing that when it's relative to something. I think society.
You think the comparison has changed?
It's always right. If you only saw people eating absolute crap like poop and potatoes, you know, and you got a tuna sandwich once in a while, you'd feel good.
Right.
But if you had that same tuna sandwich and everyone was having steaks, you'd feel like shit. And it's just this terrible human dilemma or the tragedy of humanity that we are. It's adaptation though. It's part of like the beautiful thing about habituation is that you are able to fit in and adapt to what's around you. And if you're really good and smart and charismatic and talented, you'll probably find a way to get your hands on a steak, right? But that's the thing is, I agree that there's a lot of neurotic OCD mental disorders that are perpetuated in religion because now it's do this and turn this light switch on up, 10 times so your family doesn't die. But we just call it eating kosher or keeping Shabbat or wearing tzitzit, you know, and you label or Christians, Muslims have it too, you know, do this, do that. And Allah will protect your family and this will happen. And so it's feeding into this human, the technical definition of OCD is, you know, believing that unrelated things have an impact in the world. Believing that these unrelated, if I turn the light switch, you think if someone says, if I turn around 3 times, I have to spin in a circle 3 times before I walk through any doors or my family will die, you would say this guy is mentally ill. But the same thing is happening when someone walks by a doorpost and cannot not kiss the mezuzah, right? A similar neurotic behavior is nurtured in those little things, in those fine moments, washing your hands in the morning to get the impurity off. In another world, that's a mental illness. You know, there's nothing impure in your hands. You literally washed your hands with soap, went to bed, and there's something there, tameh, you know, it's not real. Granted, I let people live and let live. If these are harmless, good people in their community, it's a nice system because you know what? In the real world, maybe some of these untalented, stupid, ugly people would never find a partner. You know what I mean? But in religion, there's this pressure to marry.
Yeah, to marry.
You see some beautiful girls landing with some very average guys. Beautiful guys, average girls. You just see things that in the normal social marketplace wouldn't have. Exactly. You know, he's not talented, but the community made it happen. And the community looking out for itself, right? Communities do all kinds of beautiful things. And I think that, where does this all go? Because ultimately, most of the best arguments against this concept that I have of, you know, get out of this and just live your life with good ethics. Most of the argument is, okay, but what else is there? There's nothing else to offer humans.
There's so much to talk about there. honestly.
Yeah, they'll say like, look at this is the best code we have.
Right. I want to hear your journey, honestly, because I'm sure it's evolved so much. Like it's really, even just a little bit we've been talking about, right? Like it's not necessarily standard in growing up in a Bukharian community to kind of go outside of it and expand your worldview in such a way. So I really want to talk about it, but a thread we were pulling on earlier that I want to go back to is the extremism that people like it's not just Rabbi Mizrachi, but like him,
Orthodoxy,
other people. Yeah, the orthodoxy. I feel like the Bukharian community, we talk about assimilation, right? Like every generation, there's always assimilation. And every new wave of people that come, any Jewish community and otherwise, like they assimilate, they leave the values behind and they're, embracing the new culture. So, we've talked about, I grew up my whole life hearing like, oh, Bukharian assimilation, kids are going to public school, marrying non-Jews, this, that, blah, blah. But then it's like, honestly, though, there's been so much assimilation the other way where it's like the Bukharian Jews are like becoming more like Ashkenaz in a way and completely losing the Bukharian values also. And in a way where I'm like, it's a little bit disturbing. Like, I think like you look at the Ashkenaz communities, I have criticism there too. I've been in yeshiva for a long time. I started to be a rabbi. I went to like Chofetz Chaim, which is around here in this location. But I loved it. I had a great time. But what you're seeing in other communities, not just Chofetz Chaim, because Chofetz Chaim is like, at least they're like, okay, you learn and then you go and teach and become a rabbi. You're not learning forever, right? So you're doing community service. You're doing that. That's
contributing somewhere.
right, contribute. But like in other communities, they don't have that value. And it's like, sit down and learn all day. Your wife supports or whatever. And it's like, bro, that is not a Bukharian thing. That's not even like that's a recent thing in the Ashkenaz community too.
Yeah.
Like that didn't exist 50 years ago. You know what I mean? Like people just learning all day in the masses. So honestly, I kind of have a big rant against that because I'm like, dude, this is completely not sustainable. And it's also just like, this is not what God wants from you. Like if you believe in God, like God does not want you to just sit there all day and learn and have 50 million kids and throw it all on your wife for her to take care of. And again,
she takes care of the kids and works.
Takes care of the kids and works. But look, I'm overgeneralizing a little bit. I don't mean to like minimize it. Obviously there's a lot more complexity in each individual, but I'm saying like, oh, sorry, bro.
My bad.
As a community, that's not, I don't think that's a good thing.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just like playing with it a little bit. Right. Is this perfect? I don't even know.
Yeah, this is good. Probably you could just probably like swing it a bit closer, and that's perfect. Yeah, that's good.
I just don't want it to catch my nose breath. As I'm exhaling.
No, that's good.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of that. That's a whole.
Right.
I know many Orthodox people that are not a fan of that. I think that's a little extreme.
It is pretty extreme.
But back to the point that I was mentioning about honoring your father and mother, it's just so wrong. If God knew enough about human behavior, he would know. You should be telling the parents to love their kids and focus on their kids.
Right.
Because life's hard enough and parents can easily get distracted. And when you give them this manuscript, this exit from the responsibility of parenting, granted, there are some responsibilities, but it's not 10 Commandments responsibility.
Yeah.
It's honor your father and mother, keep the Sabbath, I'm the one and only God. That's the level it's on. Don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal. It's on the level of all the cardinal sins. You're giving adults a hall pass for poor parenting behavior. Just, I did my best. You're not dead. Now that you are conscious enough to speak, show me respect. And I'll slap you if you don't. And I beat you if you don't. This is probably the reason life and the world has sucked for most of history. Because people were just raised by assholes. It was just asshole after asshole. Yeah. And every generation passed on the trauma to the next. Because the original series of elderly fools didn't want to lose their value in society, didn't want to feel replaced. And so they came up with this system of, oh, you know what? Honoring your elders and your father and mother specifically, that should be up there. Because we raised you, we gave birth to you, you wouldn't have life without it. But like, come on, was it not the easiest thing to do? Was it not something you're literally drooling to do at any given moment in your teenage when the forefathers found their girls in their prime just after their periods? Like, kids are fucking bursting at the seams to have sex. It's the easiest slip up. Granted, pregnancy sucks. Granted, carrying is hard and labor is tough. but you have to do something to stop it.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is the natural flow of life.
Right.
And yet these adults want this credit for it when had the world been twisted backwards for a moment in that time, when and a wise enough man would have said, hey, let's make the cardinal 10 commandments include, instead of honor your father and mother, earn the love and respect of your children by being loving and respectful and being present. Maybe just earn the love and respect of your kids. That covers a lot, right? Earn the love and respect of your kids. They don't owe it to you. You have to earn it.
You have to earn it.
And they're starting you off. It's like starting a race with a head start. The kid loves you. The kid is crying when you're not around. They cling to you. They want to be next to you.
Right.
They need the mother for nutrition. They'll spend all day, every day with you if you'd let them.
Right.
Where does it go wrong? You know,
I get it. What's so funny is like, it's such an interesting point, right? Like honor your father and your mother is written there. Like it's superfluous, if anything, right? Like you'd automatically just do it.
You
like,
would
you
if only you didn't tell all the adults that they were entitled to this respect.
Right.
And then they'd end up angry when they didn't get it and be shittier parents for it.
That's terrible, man. Right. Like meaning you could write, love your kids, invest in your kids, teach them well or something,
children,
right? Like
teach them, love them.
Yeah.
You know, give your kids 20 minutes a day of undisturbed attention and love. Granted, I think they did that a lot more in the past, right? Today with technology, it's a lot easier to be constantly distracted.
100%.
1,000 years ago, this wasn't the case. You were working the field all day mostly, or if you were royalty, you were just bored and rich and went on horseback, and when your kids were old enough to do shit with you at a very young age, they were doing shit with you. They were hunting. The girls were with the girls, the boys were with the men, and they hung out and they didn't talk too much maybe, or they didn't look at their phones or show lack of attention. But still, right? I think it still boils down to the fact that there was such a better way to go about it to set the world up for success.
I love that. Yeah.
But instead, the evident flaw in human nature to constantly want to not get left behind.
Right.
To invent an afterlife because you can't deal with the concept of death, to invent a reason that as you become increasingly useless, you are owed respect and you need to be, and it's so heavy on top of the list that you need to be valued and you don't ever want to be left out of the party.
Yeah. There's so many fascinating philosophies behind kind of like what you're saying. The afterlife thing, the respect thing. But here's a little part that I almost kind of like semi disagree with, but I think you're gonna agree with the point that I'm about to make.
Get in there, I love it.
Is like you're saying, like, oh, the Bible or the 10 Commandments or whatever, they could have written even better rules that would have been better off, which is probably valid for sure, right? Like if those are the 10 rules, like, okay, you could think of some better rules than that. But I think the issue is that nothing is really permanent. That's really the issue. Like the assumption that things will never change. Like maybe at that time period, and for the foreseeable, like all the wise people in that time, for the foreseeable future, who knows how many generations they thought ahead, those were like, these are the 10 best rules, you know, like these really are the 10 best rules. But it's like things evolve. Like they could have never foreseen technology and phones and distractions and all this. And it's like, those rules become irrelevant, you know? So it's like any idea of like this thing is permanent and forever, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to kind of like agree with or believe, like give it enough time, you know? And I'm really talking about like enough time, like not just that, maybe even more, like it just becomes irrelevant, you know?
Well, I would say it's almost always irrelevant. It's almost always relevant not to kill, perhaps. Right. You don't want to promote that in society.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the fundamentalists and religious extremists are misplaced or misplacing their faith, is that they do think it's permanent because it's from God. I agree that if it was a bunch of men, it's reasonable to kind of doubt it and update it, like the Constitution and its amendments. But no one's doubting or updating it anymore if they think it's from God. If they think it's from God, they think it's untouchable.
Right.
That's where the mistake is. If you just believe it's a decent code of laws that you've yet to see anything better for, that's more of an open-minded stance that I can get behind. But to think it's perfect and infallible is where I disagree.
That's the issue. Yeah.
And I'm explaining my whole explanation is when you really think about children and you think about the parenting dynamic, that becomes obvious. It really becomes obvious. I have two kids, and both times one time I was divorced very early into this lovely child's life, and it was not her fault, and I feel terrible because I missed out on a really great opportunity to be the parent that I wanted to be. But I'm still very involved in her life. I'm actually going to go see her later tonight, my eldest daughter. And my younger daughter, my more recent child.
How old is she now?
The younger or older?
The younger one.
The younger one is 20 months old.
20 months. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're expecting our third.
That's awesome. Wow. Congrats.
We found
oh
out
my
not
God,
so long
dude.
ago.
Good luck.
Yeah. We're gonna.
It's not easy.
I'm not slowing down yet. But
that's funny. Yeah.
I do believe it's a beautiful opportunity to have kids, and I don't think enough people take it seriously. I think people do it out of obligation. They do it out of what else? I guess that's the next step after marriage. But the reality is, it is such a big deal.
Yeah,
it is so important, and you will mess it up at some point. But I've just seen my philosophy in practice, and it's so real that this concept of your kid owes you respect is so backwards. I would never tell that to any of my kids. I would never tell it to anybody that I cared about. The reality is your kid owes you nothing. You made them come out.
Right.
There's this idea that you should be grateful for life. It's a nice thing to practice. It's a nice thing for that person to practice. Your kid should practice gratitude for his or her own sake, for their own sake, not for you to earn respect.
Right.
You don't deserve respect because you gave them life. They deserve to practice gratitude. You deserve to earn their respect and not be a slovenly fool, because degenerates have kids.
Exactly.
Losers who are just having unprotected sex, doing drugs, have no self-control, and are accidentally popping babies and then neglect them and treat them like shit and create the next generation of criminals and degenerate, traumatized, psychopaths. They're also having kids. Right. Where's the beauty in that? There needs to be a line between just because I made you doesn't mean you owe me anything.
If anything, it's quite the opposite. Like, your responsibility for somebody that you create that's completely dependent on you is like immense. Like, you can't just if you created them, you have to take care of them.
Yeah, you introduce them to pain and suffering as well as life itself, right? But all the
especially
bad things
they never asked,
Yeah, imagine a kid born that is just physically misformed or malformed or deformed or whatever that. I don't know why I came up with 3 different ways to say that. Most of them wrong. But this kid now is challenged in life. They're going to have a very hard time. It wasn't anyone's fault. Shit just happens, right? Genetic mutations, it's all chance. A lot of things have to go right for birth to go well. So who owes who respect now? Right. Who's the and I got a lot. This is what helped me kind of realize that I was on the wrong path with religion, because when I had a child, I really reevaluated a lot of what I was learning. Yeah. And I reread the Chumash, and there was a portion I came to that I just said, God, I don't want to tell this to my daughter. And it was to the effect of, if a man finds a woman in a field and he forces himself on her, or he takes her by force to some extent, his punishment is that he has to pay the father of the girl 200 silver coins, and then he has to marry her if she wants to marry him. I get that in the system of, back in the day, a woman's value was her sexuality, pretty much. She was an object and she was property, and you violated that property. Now another man doesn't want it. Just the more I talk about it, the more it sounds like the work of such misogynist men who did not consult anyone but men, and just said, bro, let's come up with a system for these bitches, and they're our property, and ew, you touch that shit, I don't want it. It's just fucking juvenile. The more I think about it, the more pathetic it sounds. I just can't stand it. And it hurts me to see some of my beautiful intelligent family members kind of buying into this and drinking the Kool-Aid day in, day out, Shabbat after Shabbat, shul visit after shul visit, Chag after Chag, holiday after holiday. You know, it's just, and I get it. It's a nice community thing, but you're missing out on life.
I can't, like, dude, I agree with you, honestly. I have a slightly more charitable take, but there needs to be a way to separate the idea of like, this is God given versus like, and like, it has to be done this way. And this is the word of God versus like, look how beautiful it is to just have Shabbat with the family. You know?
I love that because it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Shabbat is a beautiful thing. I celebrate Shabbat Friday nights,
right,
a little bit into Saturday. I do no phones, no TV, reading, dinner, sit down with my kid, my wife. We just invite some friends over. We do dinner, blessings, love. My kiddush is not, I'm doing my own like little pseudo Manny religion where I don't do a kiddush. I just take a moment to be grateful. I say thank you to my whole family.
I do the same exact thing.
Yeah, no kiddush.
No kiddush. I do like
people. Half the 90% don't even know what the hell they're saying.
Right,
they're reading things monotonously.
Yeah.
Some people. I have a cousin who's very, very charming and intelligent, and he knows the translation to everything he's saying.
Right.
And I love him for that because he'll actually kind of satirically say, oh, and you will make it holy for me, as someone is saying it out loud, and like he mumbles it to me as a joke, and you will sanctify this day. And it's just funny because when you're, at least he's understanding what he's saying, and he's kind of putting himself in a place, and he happens to be religious, and he'll make a joke of it, but he's like, he knows in his heart, he goes, I understand what's going on. This is a tradition. I'm just doing it for the tradition. I'm not actually, trembling and keeping this so sacred, but I am secluding my life, and my life revolves around this, so I'm giving it the appropriate respect. But most people don't know what the hell they're saying. Exactly. And I think it's so much more valuable, like you, to just bless your kids. Take a moment to tell your wife you love her, and say, everyone here present, take a moment to meditate on your gratitude, and tell someone near you tell someone next to you that you love, how much you love them and why.
Wow. Manny, I really want to hear about your journey. I love that so much. Like, to me, like in my mind, the Jewish laws, like at best, they're kind of mnemonic devices for some type of spiritual reality. Like in my mind, kosher is, listen, what you eat ends up becoming a part of your body, and the body is housing your soul, right? Like this connected. So it's like, be careful what you eat, kind of like be mindful of that, right? Like you're housing your soul here, and it's like, this is your life, treat it seriously. And then it's like Shabbat is like, recognize that you get stuck in a grind, you lose track of time, you lose track of what's meaningful and important. So Shabbat's a day like, let me disconnect, no work, let's, be grateful, let's connect to something more meaningful, more spiritual, recognize we're not just like, and this is an interesting topic that I know you want to talk about, like we're not just animals in a sense. I know that we are animals evolutionarily, but like meaning there's something more special than just the physicality, right? Like let's be spiritual kind of, that's what Shabbat means to me, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'd love to hear more about your journey at more and your thoughts, because like you were saying earlier, that people that are religious can sometimes look outside and be like, oh, but what's there, right? There's nothing there. And I'm curious, like what you
I think
found.
rabbis love doing that. They love saying, how many times I used to hear, what are you going to do? Not be religious and do drugs all day? Like there's no balance. Right. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
There was just nothing going on.
I was saying, do you have a hard stop?
I have a hard stop around 4.
Oh, me too. Perfect. Right.
Yeah, I'd like to stop a little earlier. I'm picking up my daughter at 4:30 from the 5 towns.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The Van Wyck's been getting better, though. I see more lanes, right?
Yeah. They're doing more lanes.
I live in Jersey City now. I miss it. I miss this community. I hate it, but I kind of miss it.
Dude, I'm so excited to leave. I'm going to Florida.
You're going to come back sometimes, and you're going to go, damn, it's going to feel good.
I'm going to miss it.
Did you grow up in this house?
I grew up here. I grew up in this neighborhood, and I've seen it completely change. Like,
Tough Time wasn't always here.
It was, when I first moved in.
Remember?
Yeah, dude. I remember when Landers was brand new. I remember when Tough Time was brand new. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Dude, the community's changed so much. It's like, dude, the movie theater's gone. Yeah.
Like all things. It's beautiful. It changes, it evolves, but
in my mind, it's changing for the worse. Like it's just too expensive for anything to survive here, honestly.
That's a function of a society we've created. That's a function of capitalism, unfortunately, right? Untethered. Exactly. It's half-assed half-assed regulated capitalism
Right.
causes the worst. The best economic structure, I think, is completely free market.
Completely free market?
Yeah, minimal government
Interesting.
involvement, like the forefathers.
Nah,
like
it's gonna turn into monopolies.
Well, not necessarily, because without regulation, without all these nuanced structures, other companies will compete constantly
How
to get in.
though? Nah.
Because government, a lot of the guardrails and the red tape is what stops other big businesses and insurance companies, for
Right.
example, right? Because to be an insurance company now, you
Right.
need all these expensive licenses that don't let all these other agencies compete and
Right,
say,
right,
I'm willing
right,
to
right.
give you insurance for cheaper.
Exactly right.
You know, but that's a government guardrail.
It is
Or
a government
usually,
guardrail.
if there was no government
Yeah.
guardrail, what could a business do? All they have to do is say, I'll lower my price then.
Right.
They can't put like an enforceable guardrail that will close your business.
All right.
How could they close your business? They're not the governing or authority. They're not the state.
Right,
They're not
right,
the
right.
federal. So
Yeah, so unless they're doing like any funny business, like a
yeah, but
mafia
then
or
again,
something.
right? If the government insists on, look, we need to open more of the market or
Right.
have more free market involvement or
Yeah.
complete government control.
Yeah.
And we're in like an uncomfortable middle ground, which is why things are kind of unaffordable, and it's hard for new competition to come in and offer cheaper alternatives.
Right.
Insurance is a big one, but it's part of that philosophy of life where
Yeah.
you gotta pick a side. Don't be half-assed in the middle. When you have government regulation in all the wrong ways and some oligopolies where there's enough big monopolies here that are
Yeah.
seizing the market,
Yeah.
you have these kinds of problems, and it comes down to, like, your dieting. It comes down to your parenting style. It comes down to a lot of your relationships. You're either in or you're out.
Right.
You're in the relationship. Now, that's not to say I'm advocating for a black and white philosophy of
Right.
life. What I'm saying is you have to stick to a certain lifestyle
Yeah.
and then choose that moderation, right?
Right.
I think moderation is a good balance, but I don't think we're in a moderated system.
That's
I think
interesting.
the
yeah.
American economy has shifted a little bit too much towards unreasonable, corrupt government involvement.
Dude, that is honestly so true, because like the barrier to entry for business, like people say this all the time. Like I hear, if I've talked to right wingers, they're like, "Oh, if you don't like it, just start your own business or whatever." Do you know the barriers of entry to starting a business? The legal documents you have to get, the money you have to have, like to even get started on something. Like even
Depending
for
on
me,
your industry, especially.
yeah, in mental health especially. Yeah, exactly. And it's like for me to expand, it would cost me to expand just in paperwork and hiring an accountant and to get everything set up legally speaking would be like $10,000 just to even start, So it's like, it is nuts. But I hear you on some points where it's like, if nobody could stop you from starting a small business, then that's fine. But imagine like, the farmer who buys all the farmland has all the eggs. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to start a chicken business on the side that could possibly compete with the big egg company if he owns all the farmland. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how does he own all of it, right? Someone sold it to him. You can always start
exactly.
small. You start small, and then you slowly, build your client base. I think that's how Amazon took on Barnes and Nobles and the online selling platform. When Amazon first got started, everyone said, "Jeff Bezos, you're dumb. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah, like why would you?
You
do
can't
that?
compete.
The internet's a fad.
Yeah,
it'll be gone soon.
And they also said that by the time you get going, Barnes and Nobles and all these other competitors selling
They'll be
books
online
are going to
too.
get on the internet and then outperform you.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
they're going to just push you out.
Right.
Just sell your company.
Right.
He didn't sell. And what he did was he just lowballed offers. He found these interesting tools where he could order from a wholesaler 10 books of a certain book, but only 9 of them, because basically people weren't allowed to order books online unless they ordered 10 at a time. So no one wanted it. And what he did was he said, if I can order 10 of these books or 9 of these books with every order that are never in stock, then I order 9 and the one book that the consumer wants. So the 10 gets ordered and it superseded that loophole mechanism in the wholesaler. And then the wholesaler would honor the order for the one book that was ordered by the consumer, while Amazon, as the middleman, ordered the other 9. It was a very interesting system that allowed him to beat this concept of bulk orders, which limited people from doing that. But
okay, can we go back? This is an interesting digression to free markets and economy, but we were talking about finding spirituality, and like you were saying that like rabbis are like, what are you gonna do? Be not religious and do drugs
What are
all
you gonna
day?
do? Do drugs all day
drugs all day?
and sleep with women? I was there. I was there, man. And I'm glad you were, and
Yeah.
I think
Good
you were
for you,
doing it
right?
wrong. I mean, like, relax.
Yeah, it's
You
pretty
know?
fine.
There's a middle ground. I don't like.
There's
I
a
don't.
middle ground, yeah.
I completely hate religion. I don't watch porn. I don't drink.
Right.
I'm not a drug abuser. I think drugs are great certain drugs are great in moderation. I love psilocybin and psychedelic mushrooms.
That's awesome.
Minimal downsides. Alcohol is infinitely worse for the body.
That's true.
And yet these Jewish occasions, everyone's drinking wine on getting drunk at Chagim. You know, so I think there's a fine middle ground that no rabbi wants to talk about.
100%. Yeah.
You know, I don't. There's a lot of things that I don't do. I'm actually better now than when I was religious.
Then when because you don't drink alcohol.
Just a lot of other things too.
Yeah. No, and we could talk about
only
that. I'm curious to hear more, but I'm actually very libertarian on drugs too. I make some exception for like the really like the opiates, but in general, I feel
Opiates, well, like painkillers.
like painkillers. Yeah.
Why are you? Do you have some kind of pain?
No, I personally don't, but they could be very addictive and they're deadly in the end. But
Why do you make exceptions for them then?
no, meaning the exception that those should be regulated.
I see. I see.
Like even cocaine, all that stuff, it should be totally legal.
Cocaine.
Yeah, I think so.
That's very interesting.
There's more harm. There's more harm in regulating it, dude. Like all these rich white people doing cocaine, they're all fine. You know, everyone's fine. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Except I hear what you're saying.
Right.
I think this is where we get into a very interesting discussion about government involvement and what should be legal and what shouldn't. How much can the government tell you what to do with your life? You know, can they tell you not to kill yourself?
Right.
Right, but then they can't tell you to do enough drugs that will kill you. It's really an interesting game. I like minimal government involvement in other than in the essentials or complete pure government with uncorrupt systems where people volunteer, kind of like the forefather structure. I don't think people should be paid to be politicians. It's not. I think you should have your own money and success outside of it, and your political involvement should be sheer volunteering, and you should have, and there should be a test.
Yeah.
It should be one of the most difficult things to get into, and it should be the highest honor.
Right.
And it should be a system that completely covers all aspects of humanity to the point where, you know, kind of where this AI revolution is going, that humans aren't going to need to work.
Yeah.
What they'll do is, you know, they'll start to function, and the main amount of time or the main resource will be, I don't know, like existing as long as possible. Humans will start to revolve society around income is not a necessary thing. There's a universal income or a universal allocation of resources.
Right.
And humans now invest their time in recreational things exclusively and building things that take people's attention, right? It'll be strictly an attention economy. You don't need to pay for food anymore. You just pay for extra things that you want.
Honestly, that's the best case scenario, and I really hope we get there because that sounds freaking awesome. But yeah, sorry. So when you were religious and then you left, so what was your path? How many drugs did you do?
I didn't do many drugs. I did get introduced to cocaine for a while. That was like an interesting nightlife party drug, but you know, I did it. I dabbled here and there, and at the occasional event, and I never got too crazy with it. I was always, you know, I only started smoking weed when I was 26. My first time doing the weed.
The weed.
Because I was in such a bubble, but my path was just like I said. My daughter, when I had my daughter, and I reread the Chumash and I saw that, and I go,
how religious were you at this point? Like,
you know, praying 3 times a day,
Rabbi Mizrachi style,
kosher, black hat. Yeah,
Okay, wow.
You know, I was very frum.
Black
very
hat.
Frum.
Did you go to like base medrash?
Black hat and shul. No, I didn't wear it every day. And I excuse me, I would try to learn every day. I would try to learn every single day a little bit of Gemara, a little bit of Chumash, but I was very frum. You know, like the you'd call me dati back then,
right? So what happened? You read the Chumash and you realize that
I was also reading Noah Weinberg, the founder of Aish. I was reading one of his books, What the Angel Taught You, or a different excerpt that he talks about tefillah and prayer, and he says it's really not for you, for God. Nothing you pray for will ever change anything. It's really for yourself as a meditative, personal engagement.
Yeah.
That made me feel so dumb because I go, what the hell am I praying for then? What is Rachem Aleinu and all these things and Shema Kolenu and I'm asking for things and all the different Rebbeim who have told me countless times, this is a segula for this is a segula for that. This is for, you say this and you get that. Pay for this in shul and you get closer to this, and everyone's fucking shaking and shuckling. What's the word for like the bouncing back and forth? And then I just felt duped. I go, Jesus Christ, what the hell am I doing here? Combined with that, I was in the hospital for my daughter's birth during Rosh Hashanah. And I got frustrated that the Ashkenaz minyan was so different from the Sephardi minyan. I couldn't follow along. And I go, is this not the same God? Like, what is wrong with us not following? The combination, the perfect storm of having a daughter that I had a very different opinion on how to raise, right? I wanted to protect her.
Right.
So having the daughter, reading the Chumash, reading Noah Weinberg about how tefillah is not at all influential. Right. God knows what he's doing already.
Right.
And the Rosh Hashanah feeling like Judaism split so much between Ashkenaz and Sephardi made me do a little bit of research, and I suddenly got this idea in my head of, maybe it's all just a bunch of people pulling shit out of their ass, just trying their best, genuinely being deceived by themselves because they just didn't know any better, right? We didn't know anything about the world.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to just say the loud thunder in the sky is God, and it's not this collision of atomic particles and change in ions and in pressure so suddenly that it causes this loud banging noise. And there's this science of atmosphere, and the earth is not the center of everything. It is just one of the many rocks, connected in the solar system. It's just so much more complicated, right? And when you see it's more complicated, it's obvious that humans would come up with an easier answer. I can't blame them. How the hell would humans have come up with all this shit?
Right.
You have to it's part of the stepping stone. It's part of the staircase. You can't jump to the top. You have to start with, there's, many gods and blood is good. And if we kill something, we get something. And, when it's dark, it's scarier because something's happening. And, when we stick together and, the strongest should get all the good stuff because he's the strongest and he's the leader, and we should learn how to, and then you evolve slowly. Oh, you know what? There's a justice to the world. Maybe there's a system. Usually the meanest guy gets what's coming to him because he's mean. And eventually with age, you become weaker and the younger ones are stronger. And eventually the young ones beat the hell out of you after they get stronger than you, and being mean forever just doesn't work. So there must be a system. Oh, how did that happen? Right? He got weak one day and he got what's coming to him. And then, my crops flooded and I didn't slaughter my firstborn. I guess maybe if I do that next time. And coincidentally, next month I slaughtered my firstborn, and the flood didn't happen. I guess I'm onto something. Right. And just this series of dumb experiments, but the best we had is what led us to a place of, Zeus must be the guy who runs the skies and does all that crazy shit. And maybe there's a place up there where these gods, and they're all super strong and cool, and it's Marvel of the Bronze Age. We humans are still storytelling. Why would you think we stopped? Just because we got better technology doesn't make it any different. The storytelling and the fireplace and the communal gathering at night and the protection of social utility and units has always been a part of that. And what do humans do? Back then there was nothing to do but play with sticks and have sex and interact and be fun and mobile and hunt, play with animals. That humans came up with this very reasonably. Yeah. So once I kind of tipped into that world, it was just the floodgates, like, well, what's to stop? Then I started questioning everything. And you see, the Gemara doesn't even agree. Yeah. The Mishnah doesn't even agree. Right. Technically, I guess the Mishnah does because it's just the writings of one guy, or maybe like the writing right from one guy putting it together, different opinions shared. But the Gemara doesn't even agree on what the Torah is saying, right. The Torah absolutely, no one will argue that it doesn't make sense perfectly. You have to, break it apart. And what's funny, Rabbi Mizrachi used to say that the oral Torah was perfect. He used to always say that in his videos. You can find something where he goes, tell me, how could it be that God didn't say this? Because you have to have the oral Torah with the written. Right. And it was from God. We just recorded it. And then in my debate with him, when I proved and I said, look at this factual fallacy. The Gemara says here's a quote. It's wrong. Then he said in that speech, my greatest victory in that debate was that he conceded and said, "Oh, of course the Gemara is not perfect. I'm not saying
Right.
that. It's the Torah that's perfect."
Right. The Torah, and meaning the oral Torah, which was then miswritten.
But then if I do,
it's an
debunk
excellent
it,
way to get out of it.
That's what he did. And
Yeah.
if anyone wants to see that part, that is my greatest victory, is getting him to concede that the oral Torah is not perfect. It's not. So stop taking the Gemara and the Mishnah and that seriously.
Right.
Stop taking halacha seriously, to be honest, because they're Rabbanan. These are just people.
Can I share my view on that a little bit?
Go for it.
So I grew up Bukharian traditional family, which I loved. I loved the way that I grew up. I think for me, if I could share this story a bit, my parents, as much as I love them, I just felt like there was no, this is going to sound so bad, but it was almost like they were living like purposeless. You know what I mean? They would come home from work, TV, you know, whatever, eat, sleep. Like they didn't have any like interesting conversations, like, you know, and I think I was always like a very philosophical kid. Like when I was 8 years old, this is a funny story actually. When I was like 8, somewhere between 8 to 10, I was like to my brother, I was like, Shmuel, how do you know Hashem is real? You know? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like asking all these questions, you know, and a lot of kids do. They're very curious and stuff. And like I'm asking these questions. I go to my parents and I ask them, and they're like, I don't know. And at the time I had a brother-in-law that was a rabbi, and they were like, let's ask him. I don't know. Let's ask him what it is. And it wasn't.
So funny.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, like,
I appreciate that ignorance, that openness, that
Right.
willingness to just say,
I have no idea. Right. Like, it's so funny, but it was like, they were surprised. And again, they're like entertaining it. And I'm really appreciative how they handled it. Like they could have been like, hey, don't question it.
yeah,
or whatever.
God,
like,
of course God's real.
of course God is real. Yeah. Like my father might have said something like that. Like, what do you mean? Like, and this is fascinating about my dad, which is a different point, where it's like, which made me realize that God is an experience. You know what I mean? Like we argue, is God real? Not this, that. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. It's like at the end of the day, do you feel God's presence in your life? Like a better analogy is like, oh, Jesus will save you or something, right? It's like, look, whether you believe it or not is literally fucking meaningless. It's, is Jesus saving you? You know what I mean? If yes, that's great. If not, then it's bullshit. Like it's meaningless. You know?
You're falling into that personal truths category of like, oh, is it your truth?
Right.
My theory was the truth is the truth. There is no your truth.
Yeah.
I guess when you have an opinion about something, it can be more along the lines of like, oh yeah, that's my value system, right?
Your value system.
Because the truth is the truth. Was Jesus real? Yeah, he was some Jewish guy who got a little wacky and got a little off the rails and accidentally started a whole splinter religion, which he had no intention of doing.
Exactly right.
And boy, I know some Christians that are just annoying about how obsessed they are with that guy. And I just go, you realize he's just a Jewish guy, you know?
He's a Jewish guy. We all forget that.
He's so excited about his birthday for.
But the point is, like, even if it's like just your opinion or something, right? Like, or just like it's your subjective reality, let's say, and that's bullshit because it's not the truth or whatever. It's like, who the fuck cares? Like, imagine you have a headache, right? And I give you Tylenol, right? And then your headache goes away 15, 20 minutes later. And I'm like, oh, actually, that was a sugar pill. It's a placebo effect, right? Does it matter if the fact that you took the Tylenol wasn't real Tylenol? Your headache went away. So it's like, who cares if it's real or not real? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from a management perspective, I suppose it matters to know, how do I prevent it from coming again, right? Maybe just time healed it, and it was always going to be better with time. So
it was always just going to
do that sometimes.
That's all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, just to finish that story with my brother-in-law. So my parents, we go to...
Your brother-in-law.
We call my brother-in-law, and he's like, oh, Gabi, that's interesting that you think that. You know, we call people that ask questions like that in apikores. You know, but he said it in such an excited way. I was like, oh, really? Like, what does that mean? And like, he was basically like, oh, it's not good. Like, and I was so excited when he said it. I was like, oh, does this mean I'm some type
of...
Yeah, right? I'm like, does this mean I'm some type of hidden genius or something? Like, I was so excited. Yeah.
The opposite effect of what he intended.
Yeah, exactly.
He hoped to warn you.
Exactly. For those that don't know, apikores means like a heretic. So yeah.
Yeah, some might call me an apikores. You're onto something when you have a group of haters.
Exactly, right.
Somewhat.
But going back to the point and to you, it's like, I think growing up, I was looking for meaning, and then I went to yeshiva and I found it. And I had a really great experience. Honestly, I think contrary, I eventually left, and I obviously I don't believe in it, but like I'm grateful for the experience that I had because it like taught me so much I wouldn't have otherwise been able to get, you know? So I'm curious, like your take on how you see religion. Like, do you see any place for it, or, you know?
Western religion, I see no place for it right now, but I think until people start to value their health, maybe start to value other things more than this desire to not die or to live an eternal life, I think it'll have its place to hold people down for now, to just keep them relaxed.
Yeah, keep them stable in it.
Because, yeah, it's a heavy question. Religion has a place if it keeps you healthy and you're happy and you love Shabbat and you love the gatherings. I think I like to think of the world from a first principles perspective, and humans don't need religion. What they need are things that religion revolves around, which is community, sociality. Humans need other humans. They need love. They need affection. They need a reason to get together. Maybe now we need reasons to get together more than anything because we're living in a world that you can infinitely numb yourself to death, and distract yourself into oblivion. So, but humans just need, the only thing a human needs is food, shelter, love, connection. Community is nice. Friends are nice. And some kind of purpose. Religion gives you almost all of that. But it's not the only thing that can give you all of that. And that's what I believe. I have a great community. I have some great friends. Very few great friends, but I have a few great friends.
That's all you need.
And I have a family that I love very much. I have purpose in my life. I know what I want to do. I don't need to live for an afterlife. I'm happy to just live this life, die when the time comes. I will expire eventually. And then maybe tomorrow, maybe in a car accident, you know, some spontaneous. I always did joke with my wife that probabilistically speaking, the most probable way I'm going to die is in a car accident because of how much I drive. And the more you drive, the more chances you have of that being your demise. And then probably the next biggest thing would be some kind of freak accident injury, you know, like falling on my neck or something, because I like to do some random shit. Like, I like handstands and things like that. And I don't think it's a high probability. I think it's like very small chance. But, you know, I've thought about how I'm going to die. Obviously I want, like, you know, at the ripe age of 120 where I'm still squatting weights and I'm fine and I wipe my own ass and I'm laying in bed and it's just time and I just close my eyes after writing my will perfectly and I have everything perfectly. But that never happens, you know, like maybe for 10% of the population, 1% of the population, they get to say their goodbyes and they have a thorough warning about their imminent demise.
Dude, and then even then, end of life is messy, man. Organ failure,
hospice, cleaning up after your parents that you've looked up to, and now they are helpless sacks of flesh with failing functionality and brains. It's terrible, but it's reality. And I'd rather the hard truth than a reassuring fable in the wise words of Carl Sagan. You know, it's not.
Damn, that's real. That's very raw.
Yeah, I mean. Wow. Religion didn't get me in shape, you know, like saying there's no calories on Shabbat doesn't help you not get fat as hell and not, you know what I mean? You know what helped me is counting my calories and monitoring the science behind what actually yields a good physique. And I've been fit for most of my adult life, but I'm in the best shape of my life now. And I'm getting to a point where I want to be very strong. I want to put on some muscle. Have like a very low body fat, and I'm seeing it better than ever before because I'm following the science. And I'm not saying science is perfect. Science is just the tool with which we observe and experiment and extract logical reality from the world around us.
Real data.
With the best tools we have, right? Technology is a limiting factor in science. If we don't have the tools to measure certain things, we won't be able to see or measure or track. We don't have the perfect environment for measuring a lot of things. But nonetheless, What we do know, and we know a lot more than religion has taught us, believe me, if you just look,
Right.
there's a lot more wisdom out there
Right.
in reality, in first
Yeah.
principles. The Bible is full of good wisdom. I will say that the Torah is full of good wisdom.
Yeah.
And I have friends that are constantly, you know, henpecked for Torah. We'll do anything to justify it and praise it and find ways that whatever I'm saying, they go, oh, look, the Torah says it too somewhere here. Like, if you really look at this part, it mentions. And, good for them. If they think they can find a piece of every possible wisdom out there in the Torah, praise be to you. Good for you. But I think that you can find it anywhere. The human brain is so big and vast and so creative, and the most powerful brain in existence currently, other than AI.
That we know of.
Other than AI
Right,
currently.
yeah, too.
But AI is just a compilation of all human history, right? So
Right.
arguably AI is just a compilation, a combination of all of humanity's best brain works and functions and extractions and outputs. So, but ultimately the human brain is the best thing, and it's the smartest, and it can do so much. It can create meaning out of nothing. It can take
Yeah.
a useless compilation of history and make it the ultimate perfect word of God, because it's committed to doing that. And
I think honestly, that's almost the point in a way, where it's like people make it the word of God. Like nothing about it inherently is. It's like the people's determination to commit to it.
yeah, I gave this great example because, Lawrence Kellerman, he's this famous rabbi that gave this interesting viral video speech.
Oh, yes, I know this one.
Mount Sinai.
Yeah. You could describe it if you want.
Yeah, there's this counter to the argument that religion can't be real and that the Jews, that Judaism isn't the holy religion. And his argument is the three possible outlooks of how the Jews lied about Mount Sinai, the revelation at Sinai. For those who don't know, in the Bible, in the second book of Moses, the Jews end up going to the desert in Sinai after Moshe takes them out of Egypt. I'm like juggling between English words and the Hebrew words. Moshe takes them out of Mitzrayim, takes them to Sinai, and there's this revelation. God gives the 10 Commandments, and 3 million Jews, 600,000 men of fighting age or something along those lines, 600,000 men. And then, they did the numbers and the math. They did back of the napkin math, and they're like, yeah, that's 3 million people. So 3 million people witnessed the revelation. How can you lie about that?
Right.
And Lawrence Kellerman did this fantastic job of taking everyone's creativity and, mind space. And he basically, he minimizes it by giving this illusion of optionality by saying you have 3 options of how to make a lie like this: past, present, and future, right? You can say that it happened in the past, right? Maybe I'm missing it. Am I getting it? I remember it was those 3
This
where
sounds
you said,
about right, yeah.
you could say it happened in the past where, we just,
This happened to your ancestors.
It just happened to your ancestors. Exactly. It happened to your ancestors. Your grandfather was there, and his counter was, how can you lie? My grandfather would tell me if it was a lie. They couldn't have made it up then, just after it. It couldn't have been made up in the past. Present was the argument that, they witnessed it in real time. Like you can't lie that they just saw it, right? And then the future argument was that, it's going to happen to your kids but then by then they would know there would never be a time where they could lie and where they would say, it just happened now.
You missed it.
Yeah, you missed something. Yeah, I'm missing a few of the pieces, but this is the general logic of the argument that how could they have lied about the revelation at Sinai? And if you can't come up with a logic that fits these three options, it obviously happened.
Right.
But it didn't, because the reality is none of those options are how it happened. It wasn't lied about. How Sinai and the Torah was compiled way after the purported events, way after they claimed the events happened. How the story and the tale and the myth was exaggerated, like most things humans discuss in gossip, is that a couple hundred Jews or a couple thousand Jews left Egypt. Maybe there was some big political reform after a certain pharaoh died, and a certain, series of very bad flooding and issues with Egypt because they were conquered by certain people and certain administrative portions of the country failed. So a bunch of slaves got away. They come to Canaan or Israel and they say, yo, we had the worst time. You couldn't believe what was going on. We were slaves. They were freaking beating us up. They were, talk to Moshe. He was, this guy, they were killing us. I'm so glad we got away. Moshe fought with one of the guards on the way out, and he beat him with a stick. And then I took a sword from one of them and I stabbed him so we can get out. We rushed out the kids, and my bread didn't even, I got this crappy bread. Do you have any food? I'm starving. And then the next generation comes along. And you know what adults do to glorify their fathers. And therefore, my grandfather, he was a legend. You remember Moshe? You remember Moshe? Wow, he took a stick and he spun it around and it killed 12 Egyptians instantly. And then he stabbed it into the ground and snakes came out and attacked everybody, and they cleared a path for us to escape. And then generation after generation after generation, the story evolved. Your great-grandfather...
Can I just interrupt you for one second?
Please.
I just realized you look like a Bukharian Hugh Jackman. Have you gotten that before?
No. It's a compliment to me. I'll take it.
Yeah, he's good looking, dude. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I love that. I never heard that before. That was a very genuine reaction. Okay, I'll take it. Yeah. I'm honored.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm honored, mate.
Right. But you were explaining how the myth evolved.
Does it not make sense?
Yeah.
Knowing what you know about the exaggerating tendencies of humans, there's a saying by Alexander Pope.
Yeah.
All who heard it added something new, and all who said it made exaggerations too.
Exactly. Let me share this if I can. This is fascinating. It could be an interesting worldview. It could be nothing. But The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. I don't know if you've ever read it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did, about way long ago, though. I forgot but I know the basic premise was about how genes are really the driver of everything.
Exactly.
You are just what your genes tell you to be, and and kind of a mixture of environment, of course. But
exactly right.
Ultimately, your genes are telling you to have sex.
Exactly right. Exactly. So the whole premise of the book, let's say one of the premises.
Yeah, you summarize it. You read it recently?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you would have a fresher take. This was in the beginning of my journey, in 2016, 2015.
Yeah. Dude, it's a fascinating, it's a mind-bending book, and the concepts in the book really, it gave me almost a new way of seeing the world. It was one of those, it's hard to explain, if you've ever had this moment of, you see the world in, a whole new way. You've never realized suddenly, whoa.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it is mind-blowing. You start to walk around feeling a little bit better than everyone.
Dude, it's, nuts. I feel I almost feel like I see the Matrix or something.
Yeah, because you see someone do something stupid, I'm so upset about that, and you go...
Yeah,
it's not you. You're not even you, man.
You're not even. Yeah, exactly, dude.
Are you hungry? Because it's not you.
But so long story short, the premise is that it's evolution from the perspective of the gene, not from natural selection or anything that's a role, but it's from the perspective of the gene. And another concept is this: our genes are a string of amino acids. Let's say. They started off most basically as a replicator, which is you have a very, very, very basic amino acid, which can be created naturally. And then for whatever reason, that amino acid attracts the similar compound to it. I might be butchering it to some degree. And it basically clones itself, right? Yeah. It's just a natural process. It's called a replicator. So then you have, and this is just the very beginning of his book. Then the rest of it just gets to the basic evolution part. So basically, then you have this string of amino acids, because resources are limited, can then find another amino acid that's exactly like it and attack it, because it has this extra amino acid and it breaks the other one down and uses its material to clone itself, right? And then that one has a defense, right? So again, then you have evolution. I don't know how the hell evolution happens. I really don't get it. It doesn't feel intuitive necessarily, but based on the fossil record, based on the genetic record, we know it's there, right? Like evolution doesn't happen in one, like you don't have like a ape and then suddenly it gives birth to a human. That's not how it works, right? Like you have very slow genetic changes one generation after the next, and it's population wide. Like you never have a first human. Like a population, slowly the genetic changes enough and there's enough isolation where it's not necessarily breeding with its closest relative somewhere else, and slowly eventually you have a new species a million years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But there's also overlap between species. Like the Neanderthals and humans did
so much
exist
overlap
at the same time. Right. Humans.
Dude, bonobos and chimpanzees today, they're different animals, but they could breed and have offspring, viable offspring.
Exactly.
So yeah, but basically myths work the exact same way. Like, I don't know exactly how, like nobody ever made up the Torah one day and it was just like written as a perfect Torah. Like it started with myths that were passed on from generation to generation that evolved. And then you have rules, and it was a political document.
And they empowered the people that told them.
And they empowered the people that told them.
They were a part of it.
The people
having
in power.
The coolest story on the block was the hot influencer shit of the day.
Right.
You know, if you were the guy who who could tell the story of the Exodus better and with more drama that got the kids and the adults just drooling by the fire with mouths wide open in awe, you were the influencer of the 1200s BC.
Dude, that's exactly right. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't just come up one day. Like same thing with language. Like it doesn't just appear perfect. Like it starts proto and then evolves into
very
something.
proto. And language is an extension of the human mind.
Right.
Like Bukharians, we were talking about assimilating. Bukharians have evolved, I think, and gotten more sophisticated. They were primitive. Bukharians are and were a primitive people. There's not a lot of words in the Bukharian language. It's very limited, very basic, very honor-oriented. There's no sorry in Bukharian. Rahmat, I think, Rahmat is but like, it's a Hebrew surrogate for something. And is there I love you?
I don't know Bukharian.
There's
Jonam, maybe Jonam, but
that's
not really
my
I
heart.
love you.
There are a lot of words that are missing in the Bukharian vernacular for basic, more elevated and conciliatory emotions, but they just don't exist because Bukharians never engaged like that. Yeah. They were very simple, straightforward, honor culture, traditional values. And then you have things like the English language that has evolved with a lot of depth in a lot of different ways to say a lot of very complicated things because it has been around through the most revolutionary time of humanity. Yeah. And in the English language came the expression of human minds and thoughts. So, there's a lot you can tell about cultures, like how Hebrew has more words than most that talk about judgment and sanctity and purity. There's a lot of ways to describe these things. And Spanish, I think, is one of the most common numbers of words that describe love.
Interesting.
So different languages, I think English has the most words that describe money or wealth or success, So there's just these different, you can tell qualities and character traits from the language. So language is a very important thing. And that's why it evolved, starting with,
right.
Yes, no,
Right.
And then it got better and better as humans evolved and got better at communicating and needed to communicate more. Arguably, it's the limited language of animals and their ability to retain a lot of words that has limited their growth and capacity to take over and coordinate.
Maybe,
So, we're just we're animals that are extremely intelligent and capable of experiencing life in a very profound way. And I just want to see the world like step it up. Stop being so weak and
let's embrace reality.
Yeah, embrace reality. You're going to die. And there's nothing after this.
Likely in a car accident.
Probabilistically, if you drive a lot, car accidents are a way to go, unfortunately. I've lost a lot of people to car accidents. Not a lot.
That's so sad.
I've lost people to car accidents, maybe as much as illness. But those are both things that can kind of be managed, right? Your health. People just don't take care of their health, and they think that God's going to get their back, or, I guess maybe that's an extreme example, but the reality is, don't take your parenting advice from the Bible. It's so trash. There's so much better stuff out there to help you really be a good parent, to really connect with your kids. There's a lot. I have so many theories about, playing and how healthy it is to play and be immature, but
dude,
there's
so
this
important.
concept of professionalism and elderly
So
respect.
sad,
And
dude.
so, you gotta be
Play,
immature, get on the ground.
yeah.
Adults should maintain their immaturity. It's a beautiful
sure,
thing.
dude,
It keeps you young.
Yeah, exactly. But I really want to understand if there was like two things, like if there was a pain point for you and like how you navigated leaving. Because like for me, it was really anxiety provoking, like because the feeling of like I'm entering the abyss, like everything it's a funny thing. Like people don't necessarily realize that the way you grow up and the culture that you assimilate to, whatever it may be, it orients how you see the world. And if if you no longer have that anymore, it's like, what is up, what is down, like literally.
Yeah. Children, your upbringing is the most important part of your life. You are learning everything from who raised you, where you were raised, the laws of physics, your love language, your social connection, and how you connect with people is influenced by how you were raised. So it's very scary to live a certain way and then change it in your 20s. It's very hard, which is why parents shouldn't limit their kids. I think it's terrible to tell your kids this is the only way to live. I think it's very healthy to say there's a lot of ways to do things.
This is a way.
This is all that there is. This is how we live.
Right.
They'll follow you probably if you do it well. I have so much to say about something. I have it's a little private, so I don't know if I want to share it per se here, but I've had a lot of difficulty in co-parenting because of religious differences. And I'm not going to get too into that, but I do think that I've seen firsthand how unless you're going to completely insulate your kid successfully in B'nai Brak or somewhere that they will not see the outside world, you're better off being open-minded and letting them explore and letting the truth prove itself than fighting it and being dogmatic to an extreme point, because I see so many parents that are just making their kids dress a certain way by a certain age, not able to hang out with certain relatives because they're the opposite gender and it's inappropriate. Like, you have to protect them. You have to do this. You have to control everything. It's just neurotic. And your kids are going to bounce back away from religion,
Right?
Because you're trying way too hard. And this is the law of nature. Do not try way too hard. One of the universal rules of human connection and behavior is if you chase something too much, it runs.
Yeah.
Just like a gorilla or a bear, the best advice is to stand still. Just stand your ground and be big. And there's a famous zoologist who was in the jungle with the silverback apes in Africa. I believe it was Africa. And he was holding one of the babies, and the alpha or one of the gorillas charged him. This is probably one of the scariest moments in a human's life. A gorilla that could easily rip you apart charged him. And he just dropped the baby and didn't run. And it's on YouTube. You can see this. It is scary just to watch. And the gorilla stops maybe a foot.
Wow.
I'm talking 12 inches right in front, and
Like we're in front of them.
charges and kind of like does a bounce and waits and just was uncomfortable getting on this guy and stopped. The guy didn't get attacked because he stood his ground. And it's natural for something to come at you, but if you don't run, it won't chase because you're not inviting that. You ever go on a date and you start texting this person and you start harassing and you're chasing, they are going to run. You could be the hottest, most attractive person with all the money.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Unless you're some celebrity and they feel like they're lucky to even be in your presence, then they'll just think, oh my God, I got so lucky. I must have been.
Even then, it could get weird, man.
Even then it could get weird because the law of the universe is when you try way too hard and you chase and you chase and you chase, it will flee. And once again, my friends would say, Pirkei Avot says this. He who chases, the Gemara, he who chases respect runs away from him. I'm telling you, he who doesn't chase it comes. Granted, like I said, there is wisdom, but the point is, it is such a universal law.
Of course,
from when it comes to social dynamics.
Right.
And parenting is a social tool. It's a social engagement between you and your child. Yes, it came out of your vagina or it came into your life as your house when it comes to the father, but it is a social dynamic that requires skill and training.
Right.
And if you do it right, oh man, it can be so great. Like I have a kid that's almost 2 years old and she is so pleasant. She's so pleasant. She's so funny. I feel comfortable doing anything with her. I am not ill-equipped. I can go myself with my daughter and do anything. I'm happy to just be like, yo, let's go spend a day out. Me and you, kid.
Right.
I'm down. And it's not going to be hard. It's easy.
Right.
Because I genuinely have a good relationship with my daughter. And I'm comfortable handling it myself. Me and her will just talk and we'll go places and we'll see things. We'll eat something here. And I know she'll sit down and chill. And she knows how to talk because I've invested my time in her. I didn't come from the place of, let God. I came from the place of this is a human that knows nothing and I need to be just loving. And later the discipline will come. But right now they're following my every move. They just want love. They just want to feel good. And if you're the source of that goodness and you build that security and trust with incessant love, your kid is going to be so easy to deal with. And it's mostly in the first 3 years. That's what I hear from child psychologists. But yeah.
Manny, how did you navigate the abyss?
Just a lot of reading. A lot of reading and YouTube videos and watching and education and lectures. And then, you get I started rereading history. I reread history. I reread science. And I got to a place where I just felt like I have a very good basic understanding of human behavior and human science, right? Humans are generally, they need, I once said life as, John Green said, is it John? One of the Green brothers who does Crash Course.
Yeah, Crash Course.
He goes, life is sex and not dying. And it's true.
That's literally
and you build from there, right? Life is sex and not dying and everything else is just nuance. So, I navigated the abyss mostly by getting independent, which meant getting financially independent, which meant getting jobs and trying to build a skill set enough. And thankfully I started my own business and it was, very successful and it's still growing and I'm working my ass off to build it. But that entailed developing my character enough to be someone worthy of leadership, right? Yeah. Education. I think navigating the abyss entails committing yourself to a protocol and just not straying from it, no matter how scared you get, because you'll get scared. One day you're moody. One day you're pissed off. One day your kid's screaming and your wife's bitching at you or your husband. One day you're not feeling well, and then you're questioning your entire life. But if you say, hey, this is the protocol for a good life, right? Read 10 pages a day, get quality sleep, eat good food, do physical activity that will promote muscle growth and health. Invest a little bit of time every day in the people that you love a lot. So your kids, your spouse, your friends, your good friends that make time for you, make time for them, the good family members you have, and learn a new skill. Maybe it's Python coding. Maybe it's playing guitar. I personally want to learn guitar and magic because I think that's going to make me an interesting parent, right? Like I feel like I have to earn and work my way towards being a good parent. I want to learn. I learned a few funny magic tricks because I want to be able to be like, look, kids, wow. And then they're all like, oh my God. And their minds are blown, but that's this philosophy I have about you should invest in parenting. Right. Parents a lot. I remember seeing a lot of parents growing up. They just didn't give a shit. I gave birth to you. I feed you. I put a roof over your head. Why don't you love me and listen to everything I fucking say? Mentality. Yeah. Because you're not interesting. You're not interesting. You're failing my curiosity for life right now. Right. You're not giving me this growing brain, the stimulus that I need. You are boring. And boredom is good. It'll teach kids to do things on their own, but it won't teach them to love you forever. And into their teenage and into their growth, you will lose your kids. They will not give a fuck about you eventually. And they don't owe that to you. They don't. You brought them into this world. Yeah. My biggest purpose in my life is to just contribute to society as best as I can, but to show, I so desperately want to show the world how to parent better and how so much of parenting is so badly and poorly done. And I see this example still. And my mom is, I love her to death, but a lot of her parent, she's grandparenting now, and I see her, my in-laws and everyone I see, they're just so fast with kids. They talk 1,000 times before the kid responds, and nobody realizes, bro, just say one thing and just be quiet. Sit in silence around your kid more. Just sit down on the floor and watch what they're watching. Don't even say anything.
All right.
There was this great brain scan doctor on the Diary of a CEO where he said, 20 minutes, no commands, nothing. Just sit and observe your kid and let them run wild and be with them, go with them.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes a day. And I love doing that. I try to do it for an hour, but the world just needs a whole revamp on parenting. And it all starts with the Bible. The Bible got it wrong. Why are you saying honor your father and mother? I was going to do it if they weren't such assholes. If they weren't coming out like, you have to honor me, I was going to do it anyway.
Right.
I love them. They're nice to me. But then some guy put it in their head that I owe them respect. And now they're yelling at me because I'm misbehaving. But they don't realize that I'm just misbehaving because I don't get any attention from them. Because they think that I owe them the respect and I have to chase them. They don't think they owe me attention. And I feel lost. And it's my first time alive. And when they leave, I think they're never coming back. And no one's taking the time to explain this to me. And no one's taking the time to shower me in love. And they're just doing their own fucking thing while I'm supposed to still honor them because God said so. Like, what kind of world do you think you're setting up as a God? It's just the most stupid blueprint. It's not the most stupid. I'm not going to say that. But to say it's God is to be so far from the source, so far from reality.
Yeah. Wow, man. Do you believe in God?
No, I mean, what God, right? Do I believe in some God that went, here's the laws of physics. I don't care if you masturbate. Yeah, probably. But who cares? Like, I happen to not believe in any of that. I don't masturbate. I don't do any of that stuff. If I need to do something, I do it with my wife. But that's because I understand human nature. I understand habituation. Neuroscience taught me that. Neuroscience taught me not to watch porn, because I learned that the brain is an organ and the organ can get abused through too much stimulation, overstimulation, right? Watching bad things distorts your ability to appreciate a normal, beautiful human being that is having your children and is putting her body through work.
Right.
Why would you do that stuff? That's terrible for you. I didn't need God to tell me that.
You don't need morals or some higher power. Like you can listen to yourself and.
Well, you can learn about the brain.
Right.
Just learn the brain. Sure. Habituation is a real thing. Robert Sapolsky.
Robert Sapolsky. Oh
you
my
like
God.
Robert Sapolsky?
I just finished his lecture series, man.
Oh my God. He's a freaking God.
He's amazing.
He's a legend.
I reached out to him. Please come on my podcast, Robert.
Robert, get over here. We're both I just want to watch that.
Yeah, right?
I want to sit on his lap.
I'm going to post this as a clip and send it.
The guy is a legend. Robert Sapolsky is a legend, and he's so interesting. He doesn't believe in free will.
Right, I know,
I completely understand it.
I get it, yeah.
Because everything is regressively boiling down to the source of all your genes and every stimulus since then that you didn't have control over.
Yeah.
But that's digressing. I read his book, Behave.
Nice.
3 times.
Wow.
I read it, and I highlighted everything I liked. I have a copy that is just dirty.
Oh, wow.
Just straight dirty from all the things I did. And it's one of the most incredible. That could be a better Bible than the Bible itself because of how much it explains the dilemma of humanity. And I will say, just learn about the brain. Learn about what you really are. In his book, he has an interesting piece about habituation where he says, he was listening. He says, I was listening to this musical piece in an orchestra, in an opera. And I got chills. And I wondered how infrequently a medieval peasant would stumble upon such an opportunity. Oh, wow. No wonder they subscribed to the church practice that was being proffered.
Right.
because maybe that was the only time they were ever hearing music and beautiful hymns and choirs.
Yeah.
And then I got a terrible thought about how I can just listen to this anytime, any day in my headphones. And how nothing is ever as good as the first time. And today's new experience is yesterday's not good enough. Because you're just going to get used to it. And you need to prescribe, and this is me now. We need to learn to prescribe suffering. We need to learn to prescribe a certain level of abstinence. Shabbat happens to be a beautiful one. I happen to think that is a very good tool. God got that right. It's very good. It's true. You get into the routine. You need to prescribe a level of, let's take a step back. Right. Let's willfully be bored.
Yeah.
But in other ways, Shabbat's not the only one. It's a great example, but it's not the only thing.
Yeah.
You need to prescribe some kind of suffering in your life where you're not just eating steak every night and you're not just having sex with every beautiful woman you see or beautiful man. And you're not just enjoying every possible luxury that money can afford, because then you just need more.
Just one question though. Why'd you look at me when you said with every beautiful man?
You're not too bad yourself,
Thanks, man, thanks. I'm joking, bro. But yeah, totally.
Totally, man.
Sorry, what's with the time?
We're getting close.
I'm getting
3:45.
Yeah. Anything you want to cover before we finish?
No, I liked a lot of that parenting stuff, and I wish we could delve into the brain a little bit more. We should have touched on neuroscience a little bit more, because I think how I navigated the abyss was I leaned on neuroscience. I leaned on you got to lean on first principles.
Yeah.
And what are humans if not brains? And you know what got me to remember that was studying the brain and studying all the maladies of what happens when you don't have a functioning brain. Is what taught me that no, we're not spirits. We're not these things, these neshamas. You are a brain. You'll forget what your kids look like.
Right.
You think you're going to go to heaven and recognize your grandmother? I'm sorry. You're not. There's a part of your brain that they can cut out right now. And you'll go, who
is that?
Fuck is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll be an asshole.
Right.
You'll not only not be like, oh, babushka,
right.
and hug her. You're not going to do that. You're going to be like, fuck this.
Right.
I want to rape and pillage.
Right.
Without the brain. So what makes you, and Sam Harris said it perfectly. He goes, the brain is going to be completely offline, and we can see that here. What makes you think you're going to go to heaven and even have vision? And I granted it, the advocates and the apologists will say, no, it's more spiritual. It's not real physical sight. But think about every possible quality that a human being can capture. They cease to exist without a brain.
Right.
There's just nothing. Your grandmother's kindness, the soft touch, the love, and the infinite forgiveness she had for all the things wrong that you saw in the world. Yeah. That you just wish you could have for your mother or your father or that loving person here again, and you can't wait to see them in heaven. It doesn't exist once they're dead. When the brain shuts off, it's gone. I lost a very beautiful relative of mine, and she was such a sweet human being. And it destroyed my family to lose someone. She was very young. And it's hard for people to think, okay, that's the end of that story.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, I'm never going to see that face again. I'm never going to hear that voice again. And I'm never going to really engage in that beautiful combination of personality traits that only she had.
Right.
There's only one person just like that in the existence of humanity, right? There was no one else like that. Just the right amount of compassion, just the right amount of innocence, just the right amount of fun, sassy, cute humor, Right. It's all in a certain degree in balance that no one else, just like her fingerprints, can never be replicated, But that's the end of it. And it's hard for people to say that because we want that story to continue. Yeah. And I can't imagine what her parents went through. I really can't.
That's so tough.
Yeah. So I understand the desire to want to believe in that afterlife, to believe that the story goes on.
Right.
But everything I know about the human body and the brain and the mind and history and science, when you put it all together,
it's not plausible to think that
it's so impossible. Humans are more likely to have made all this shit up because we do it every day.
Right.
Every day, my employees will exaggerate a story that happened at a conference.
Right.
Every day when I was in yeshiva, my rebbeim were lauded and praised and exaggerated. Just a year ago, yo, this rabbi once did a backflip kick thing. And then I asked the rabbi, he's like, yeah, I just like kicked really high.
Yeah.
But the stories, you know, we just glorify things.
Right.
What do you think is more real? You know what I mean? Like when people tell me, and I see it every day, when people tell me in fitness, oh, I did calories in, calories out, and I didn't lose weight. So you're telling me the laws of thermodynamics and physics are just completely suspended for you.
Right.
You are the specimen.
Right.
You are the matrix. You're the architect. You're the one. You are the son of God. Like it's you, right?
Yeah.
You want to believe that.
Right.
Oh, this doesn't work for me. I'm like in the 1%. No, bro, you just didn't fucking count your calories, right? You just don't know how much you're eating. You just don't know how to count. And even then, if you do know how to count calories, you don't know what your calorie maintenance is because you didn't have the patience. You know how I actually got on a calorie maintenance program to find out what my calorie maintenance is. I'm 2 months in. I still don't know what my caloric maintenance is. And I'm strict. I weigh everything. I count it. I put it in my AI bot, and it's been amazing. Right now, I think at 2,400 calories, I'm in a deficit. I don't know how much of a deficit yet. I'm 2 months in. Every day, I weigh myself in the morning. I track the calories the day before. We do the math. I missed a few days. I went traveling. I had restaurants. You know what I mean? Like it's imperfect, but I'm going 2 months deep. I still don't know what my maintenance is. After I know my maintenance, I'll be able to know how many calories I can eat to lose weight, to gain weight. Are you the person telling me that you did calories in, calories out? Did you do this? Did you spend 2 to 3 months, maybe 4, figuring out exactly what your maintenance is and then adjusting your calories after that to really see? Did you spend 6 months to a year trying this? No. People do 90 days, 30 days, a few, and they look at a scale, they look at the mirror. They're impatient. They're just myopic, short-sighted beasts. But yeah. Damn.
I mean, that's fun. I mean,
I got a lot to say, if you can tell.
I'm sure, right? Dude, this has been a really fun conversation, and it's a shame we didn't have time to debate the afterlife thing because I really would love to talk more about it. I don't believe in the afterlife in the sense that like in the religious way, but in I've had reincarnation memories. I've been to some form of afterlife. So it would be interesting to talk about from that perspective. Obviously, I'm open to the idea that it's like brain, firing shit.
I would love it to be true.
Yeah.
I have so many people I want to see.
Yeah.
I have so many people I want to see.
Yeah.
Again.
And
they're,
Yeah. Have you ever done ayahuasca?
No, but I've done psychedelics, and I can understand where it is, and I don't think you're seeing something
you don't
that
think you're
isn't
seeing
there.
That person.
You're not seeing. Your brain is hallucinating.
Your brain's
You know what I
creating
mean?
it.
Like
Yeah.
the world isn't changing. If I'm tripping balls here, nothing around me is actually changing.
Yeah.
It's my brain,
In your brain,
and the visions and the photons and the interpretation of everything that's being morphed and messed with.
It's so fascinating because I hear you, and I'm open to that being completely true. But what's so crazy is that when you're in the experience, it's as real as this.
Just like a dream.
It's just, dude. Yeah.
What about dreams?
It's even
how insulting is a dream?
You mean because it's like not real and you're there? And
it's insulting because I'm an idiot every fucking time. I am genuinely stressed out that I left my car on the mountainside cliff. And I need to fly back to the airport and make sure my wife gets there, so that the dragon doesn't get the car before me. And like, shit, what do I do with the keys?
Yeah.
And my daughter, where's my daughter? And my dog suddenly talks, and I'm fine with it.
Right.
Like, how fucking stupid. You know what I mean? The fact is, dreams should be a constant reminder of just how stupid and fallible you actually are.
You're so right. But what's crazy is that when it's not like a regular dream, it's almost like, and it feels very dreamlike. That comparison is real. But it's so real in a sense that it gives you the perception that if that was not real, then this whole shit might not be real either. You know what I mean? Like that's
it's hard because
Yeah.
it's hard to be you're not dreaming this
exactly
time.
right.
And
But
here
there-
in real time, and all of a sudden you're seeing something. But just
Dude.
remember, your five senses
Yes.
are manipulated,
Exactly.
are
Completely.
manipulatable,
Right.
and they are not yours. They
You're
are
not,
not.
right.
You're not an accurate interpreter of society and reality.
Yeah.
You're accurate enough.
Exactly right. So, and that's a respectable view. The idea that like psychedelics don't take you to other dimensions or any bullshit like that. And
Yeah.
it would be silly to truly like, I 100% believe that without being agnostic to the ability to like, okay, that's just chemicals in your brain. But definitely the experience, something about it, like when you're there to hear it, it's like, it opens your eyes. It almost like makes you see more. But whatever, that's my view.
Yeah.
I think
It does open your eyes
for sure. Yeah.
because it messes with the brain, and the brain is really where your eyes are, right? What you see, what you feel, what you interpret.
Can I share a random thought? I get this thought of like, it's so random. Dude, imagine like you wake up from whatever your life is and it turns out you were in a coma the whole time. Imagine.
I think about that all the time,
right?
randomly.
And we're having
Imagine
this,
I'm 10 years old again.
dude, right? And then suddenly you wake up, you're 10 years old again. Sure. But let me ask you a question. You were in a coma. This whole thing, you've just experienced life. You've experienced life. Who is God? Like we're having this conversation. Who is God? You know? So you wake up, you're 10 years old. That whole thing was a dream. Who is God?
Still, I think the answer would still be the same, unfortunately.
It was, oh, you're saying there is no God?
Yeah, because it's possible
Right.
to still have these brain thoughts,
Yes.
right? Just like before you
But
die, your life flashes
Exactly.
before your
Right,
eyes.
right.
Because the brain is just playing images and playing a movie. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? A dream could feel like a lifetime.
Dude, exactly. In a dream too, you could say the same thing. But my point is that if you wake up in a coma and the whole thing was actually just your dream, you were God the whole time. You created the reality. You simulated the reality.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? You lived
That's
in
true.
the reality. Yeah.
That's implying that God is defined as this
As a
being that
creator.
controls this
Okay.
all, but I don't think that could be, right? I don't know if God's
exactly.
that. It really depends on your definition.
Yeah.
But I was definitely the controller of that
Right.
experience.
Creator, the controller, right? Exactly. Anyways, Manny, dude, this was such a fun conversation. I really want to do it again.
I appreciate you letting me just rant.
Yeah, of course, man. I love doing that. You have great thoughts, so I'm really happy I could hear it. I would love to do an extra like 2 hours just talking about afterlife and stuff.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, sure. Any last words? No, I'm joking. If you could yell one thing from the rooftops that you want everyone to know, what would that be? Yeah.
Damn. I like this Ezra Klein style finisher. If I could yell one thing from the rooftops, what would it be? Question all your assumptions and everything your parents taught you.
I love that.
Because until you do, you're pretty much on autopilot. You know?
Yeah. Manny, where can people find you?
LinkedIn.
Throw a link in the description.
I don't have Instagram anymore. I got rid of social media when I got
wow.
married. Yeah.
Wow.
We can talk more about that.
Nice.
It's toxic, but I'm on LinkedIn, my professional
Yeah.
profile. So
Awesome.
find me on LinkedIn, Manny Yosipov.
Nice. Manny, thanks for coming, man. Guys, please like, subscribe, rate me 5 stars, share this episode.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Let's do this. He's got a good thing going here. I like
Thank you,
it.
dude. Appreciate it.
Yo, good time.
Yeah, dude, this was awesome.
Wow.